Thanks for joining us for the North Bay Podcast, where we explore how outdoor education is reshaping the way students learn, grow, and connect with the world around them. I'm your host, Rick Garber, and in each episode, we're going to dive into the impact of outdoor schools, the challenges and successes of bringing learning beyond four walls, and the movement to make outdoor education accessible to all. Welcome to the North Bay Podcast. I am thrilled today to have Dan Prince from Oregon Outdoor School joining us here. Dan, thank you for being with us.
Oh man, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Well, I'm so excited to talk to you because Oregon is they're sort of the model of how we address inequity in access to outdoor school programs. So just tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, first of all, thank you. That means a lot. Really appreciate that. It's pretty incredible when I think back on my time in Oregon Outdoor School and how things have gone. And when we think about equity and access, I think about it a couple different ways. So I want to kind of answer the question in both those ways. One is like when I think about who has the opportunity to attend outdoor school, and then the other part of it is like, how is it for every kid when they are there? Because attendance is like necessary, but not sufficient.
Right.
You know? And so, I mean, in Oregon, outdoor school started in the 50s, and it steadily grew. By the time we got to sort of the mid 80s, we probably had 3/4 of the kids in Oregon going for a week of outdoor school. Wow. I mean, it was really like, you almost can't go anywhere in Oregon without saying, oh, I work for outdoor school. And people are like, oh, let me tell you my story. You know,
yeah.
Especially people sort of my age.
Incredible.
But we got into the sort of late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and it really eroded. Budget cuts were really drastic. Schools couldn't afford basic things. We ended up with some of the shortest school years in the country. And so outdoor school is one of those things that districts lost, or they turned it over to fundraising for parent groups and that sort of thing, and they just didn't do it. And so, you know, we got to the mid like 2008, 2009, 2010, we had way less than half of the kids attending.
Wow.
And I remember going into a classroom to talk to a class of sixth graders and telling them about their outdoor school experience. And I said, and at this point, this particular district was able to do a 1-night, 2-day experience. And I said, so you're going to go overnight. It's going to be really cool. And this kid raises his hand and he's like, didn't this used to be a week?
Right.
I said, yeah, it did. And he just looked at me.
Wow.
He just goes, budget cuts, right? And I'm just like, it was just a gut punch.
Yeah.
Right. This is an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Who like
calling us out,
knows the score. Right. This is not the only thing that's been cut from his learning experience. He's 11. And, you know, so we were just like, that just was devastating. And of course we were experiencing this, you know, across the state. And so we formed a coalition. We were done with like this, loss of this experience. It's really a legacy of Oregonians across the state, like talk about this experience. And so we formed a coalition and went to the legislature. We were able to pass a law that created a structure for outdoor school, a funding structure, but the legislature was unwilling to put any money to it.
Okay.
And so thankfully we put together a citizens campaign. We got signatures and we went to the voters in 2016 and we said, you know, would you be willing to allocate a certain percentage of lottery funds to send every kid in Oregon to outdoor school for a week? It passed with nearly 70% of the 2016. Wow. It passed in every county but 2, and then the 2 counties that it didn't pass in, it was like 49-51. So one of the most popular initiatives in the history of the state. And of course, we were thrilled by that. But so we went from this sort of like sub 40% of kids in the first 2 years. We were able to ramp up to close to 90% of the kids in Oregon going to outdoor school.
Wow.
And so like clearly the demand was there, and it's just been amazing. So the access is there, and now the work is really in like the programming and are we making sure that every kid feels like they belong. So it's just amazing.
It's, you know, it's something we think a lot about because in Maryland, we're sort of where you were with that less than 50%.
Yeah.
And we know that the students that lack access are those that lack access to a lot of other things.
Absolutely.
Right? They're lacking access maybe to clean air and water, to safe communities.
Yep.
And then they lack access to this as well.
Yeah.
So it's inspiring to hear that this can be fixed.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I'm on the other side of sort of that effort, you know, and so it's maybe easy for me to say, oh yeah, it's like it's no big deal, just do it, right?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But it's not that easy. It's like, you know, you have to have the public will, you know, like the community has to really get behind it. The thing is, outdoor school is a thing that resonates with people. Even if they haven't done outdoor school, they're like, oh, learning outdoors, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I want my kid to have that experience. You know? And really, we cannot be okay with the fact that kids with privilege, kids in wealthier school districts, kids whose PTAs can raise money to pay for them to go, only those kids have access to the experience. We can't be okay with that.
We can't be. Yeah. We can't be. As we look at this as sort of a national movement of creating that access for kids, no matter where they live, no matter where they come from, no matter their socioeconomics, we look to Oregon and to places like Oregon that have passed legislation, and we look for the impact, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be able to tell those stories and build that public will and momentum that you're talking about. Tell me about the impact.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we want to know, like, we believe in this work from our experience working with children and the thousands of stories that we have of impact on students. But we want to really know. We need to evaluate. We've been evaluating this program for probably about a decade now, statewide. And so we've got this really comprehensive. The funding for outdoor school goes through Oregon State University. So you've got a research institution that has expertise and experience and can really like evaluate very solidly what our outcomes are. So what we're seeing from that is that students are, they're gaining really essential skills, critical thinking, teamwork, problem solving. They're gaining confidence. They're gaining a sense of belonging with their classmates, with outdoors, to the land, a connection to the land. They're gaining STEM identity. We did a project where we worked with a educational psychologist named Dr. Ellen Skinner at Portland State University. She developed this tool to identify, to help get a sense of if a particular type of programming was affecting students' identity as a learner. In other words, like I am a person who can do science. I like science. When it gets hard, I try harder. I don't give up. Like these kinds of like identity sort of like core long-lasting impacts. And I mean, outdoor school, the results from outdoor school are just through the roof, right? Kids go and they're like, science is boring, or I've never really enjoyed science. I don't do math. I can't do math. This is a big problem in this country, right? And they walk out of it after a week, you know, saying, I actually see myself as a scientist. I am a scientist. I believe I can do this. It got hard, but I actually, like, people helped me get over that. And, you know, those are really powerful impacts. So we're really seeing the effect on the population, because now we've got 40,000 kids going to outdoor school in Oregon every year, and the small investment in getting them to outdoor school is having these huge positive impacts, not only on kids but on families and communities.
Wow. You know, I can see some people still having the perception that this is an extra, that this is a luxury, this is not a necessity. How does the research and data that you guys are generating counter that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, I ask a parent if they want their kid to thrive, and if they think that's a luxury. It's not. Like, it's just not, right? I mean, kids need to be prepared for the world. Like, that's what the purpose of school is. When kids graduate, they need to be ready. You know, they need to have a sense of accomplishment, an agency, a sense of like an idea of what they want to do. You know, these are not luxurious outcomes. Like, this is the basic core of what we should be doing. The level of engagement of kids at outdoor school. I don't want to knock schools, right? I mean, but like there's like hardworking teachers that are doing amazing things in classrooms all over this country, all over Oregon. You know, but the level of engagement that teachers report, that students report about this learning, that how engaged they are. One of the big crises in this country with education is attendance. We're having a real big problem with kids just not coming to school. You cannot learn school if you don't come to school. And we're seeing that as a result of outdoor school, students' attendance is getting better. Like teachers report, my kid's attendance after going to outdoor school in my class is better.
And we've seen the same thing in Maryland. Students that attend a high quality outdoor school program like North Bay, they attend school.
Absolutely.
They're more engaged in learning.
Absolutely.
They're more confident that they can do it.
And you know, who wants to go to a place where you feel like you're not good at it? you know,
Right.
but all of a sudden you feel inspired and you feel like I can actually do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm a person who can do this.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're going to show up for that.
There's a lot going on with youth mental health right now. And that's, it's been going on, but certainly the pandemic exacerbated some of these issues. The disconnection between kids, disconnection from nature. Talk a little bit about that, I've heard of some programs like Park RX and things like that.
Yeah, we're prescribing nature,
how is outdoor school impacting student well-being?
Yeah, so students are reporting that they have a tighter connection with their classmates. Right? Loneliness is a huge epidemic.
Yep.
I mean, it's really scary to have kids that are isolated, focused in on screens, not connecting with each other. Humans are connected species. Like that's how we operate. We're meant to be in community. Outdoor school creates community. Like that's a huge part of it, and it's intentional. Great outdoor school programs create an intentional sense of community, and they really work to like pull everybody together so you feel like you're a part of something and you make connections. And we know that the evaluation of the data is showing that that's effective for kids, and that is a mental health boost.
Right.
Having a caring person is one of the most important factors in success in life, is having somebody that cares about you, especially as a young person.
And we know that time in nature is restored.
Absolutely.
We know that this is good for kids' well-being, for their health, for that sense of community.
Absolutely.
But we do all live in the real world where academic performance is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And, I think sometimes outdoor schools can be seen as, kids are going off to play in the woods, and that's nice. But what are we talking about with academic performance? Like, are these kids actually performing better in school? Or are we seeing academic performance gains? What is the story there out of Oregon?
Well, one of the things that I would suggest is that this kind of splitting of fun and learning is a big problem.
I would agree.
Right? I mean, like, don't we want learning to be fun? Isn't learning fun?
Right.
I mean, young kids love to learn.
Right.
Like, the first day of school when you're going in kindergarten is very exciting.
Yes, it is.
And so, I mean, that's kind of a false dichotomy, right? You can do both. It's really actually not that hard to do both.
Right.
We really enjoy learning as a species, as people, as a community. So the beauty of outdoors, one of the beauties of outdoor school is that it embeds fun in academic learning.
Right.
We're building skills together. We're enjoying that process. We are also, like, the thing about, so if you're outdoors and you're learning in this really authentic environment, it's very engaging. Like the nature, the outdoors, it raises questions for you.
Right.
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 Like, so science is the pursuit of questions, right? It's like, that's interesting. I just noticed this thing.
Yep.
I wonder what the heck is going on with that, right?
With that?
Like, if you look at science standards in school, like, these are process standards, right? We want kids to have scientific literacy, which means that they are able to ask good questions and investigate and formulate suggested hypotheses and then test those and be able to explain their reasoning. All those kinds of things are things that when you are out in nature and you are exploring and you're observing a bird, or you're looking at a plant, or you're digging through the soil, you're breaking a rock apart, like, all of these things are very academic endeavors, and they're very authentic, and they're real. They're not practice. And kids feel like, I'm not doing this this isn't fake.
Right.
It's real.
It's authentic.
I am we're doing this thing for science. We have schools that are outdoor schools that are collecting water quality data and submitting that to agencies, right? So you've got kids that are like, and you can say, like, it's really important that you get this, like, follow this protocol, blah, blah, blah. In Northeast Oregon, in the Grand Ronde watershed, there's a community science project that the Watershed Council and the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation are doing collaboratively. And so you've got citizens across this region that are monitoring water quality. Kids at outdoor school are monitoring water quality. They're submitting this data to this larger agency that is using that data to really understand the quality of the watershed, the health of the watershed,
Right.
Students are contributing authentic, real, scientific research to this community effort.
Yeah.
Like that's academics.
And that's engaging.
Absolutely.
We had at North Bay, we had a sixth grader was the first person to ever find a snakehead fish in the Chesapeake Bay.
That is awesome.
That's a scientist.
Absolutely.
That's a scientist.
Pioneering scientist.
Yes.
Like
discoveries.
That's great.
And so
the Copernicus of Chesapeake Bay.
When we give kids these opportunities, learning becomes alive. It becomes dynamic.
Absolutely.
And that's what you guys are doing in Oregon.
Absolutely.
Creating access for kids.
Yeah.
So everybody who comes on, I got to hear from people in this field, leaders, like, tell me a story. Tell me a story out of Oregon or out of your career working with kids in the outdoors.
Yeah, man, so many.
Touches you.
So many. I mean, my own kids were profoundly impacted by outdoor school. And even though they sort of were vicariously living it, as I was there. But when people, you ask me a story, the first kid that pops into my head is a kid named Adrian. And this is quite a lot of years ago. Adrian's probably in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, I don't know. So Adrian gets off the bus and I'm talking to his teacher, and she's like, this kid's having a hard time. He's built real big walls around himself. He does not interact with kids in class. He doesn't sit with anybody at lunch.
Right.
He's really angry. He sabotages his relationships with people by he's mean to other kids.
Yeah.
He's like built himself for some reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
He is like, he's in the room physically, but he doesn't, and kids are kind of like not really enjoying being around him, because he creates this, he's just building this real barrier, and I'm worried about him, so we watched Adrian. I had an educator named Ryan who was like, okay, well, I really want to see if I can find a connection with this kid. And so he would sit next to him at every meal, and sometimes he would hey man, and Adrian was just like, nope,
right.
And then and he was even starting to engage in some behaviors that were like a big problem, creating problems for other kids and stuff. And Ryan he just wasn't going to give up, and so he sat with him and he sat with him and he sat with him. And I mean, days go by, we get to about Thursday of the week, and for the first time anybody had ever remembered, they saw Adrian crack a smile, and then as that day progressed, he's talking, he starts laughing, he starts talking to his classmates, and I have a picture of him with these safety goggles on, right? And Ryan's got his safety goggles on and they got rock hammers, and he's got this big smile on his face. And so I'm like, okay, well, that was cool, right? So about 4 months later, the teacher sends us a letter and with that picture, that she took, and she said, you wouldn't recognize Adrian. He's a member of the class. He has friends. People sit with him at lunch. Yeah, he still has a lot of anger. Yeah, he's still he's still working through a lot of stuff, but it's a different dude, and the class is a different class because of that. And it's you have time and you have the outdoors and you have these shared experiences to be able to do that. And I mean, I tell the story it's not an anomaly though. This, it's not an anomaly.
It's not.
There's thousands of these stories.
Adrians in outdoor school programs right now.
Right now, and it's just, I'm so grateful to be able to participate in something that is really making a huge difference for kids.
Yeah. Yeah. What a privilege we have to live these stories.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. As you guys have created incredible access, you've also created an incredible opportunity for research and evaluation.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit more about what that data is showing. I know there's a report published this year.
Yeah. So part of the statewide program is an evaluation of the program and its outcomes related to what is expected by the legislation, and also what's expected by school leaders for their students, because they're, every minute a kid spends, there needs to be a result from that in learning. And so we evaluate the statewide program evaluates the program by surveying teachers, surveying students, and then also school leaders. And moving into the future, really being able to actually dig into data like attendance rates, graduation rates, scores on standardized tests, like those kinds of things down the road compared to outdoor school attendance. But for now, we're really looking at those kind of outcomes. Are students learning information? Are they gaining scientific processing skills? Are they gaining a sense of belonging to school and to their school community? Are they gaining a sense of connection to the land, to nature? Are they more motivated to learn in school? Like all of those measures are showing as a result of outdoor school, all of those measures are increasing for young people.
And those are the precursors to both academic success, but also well-being.
Success in life and health and well-being, absolutely, and wellness. And, there's a large body of research about the benefits of time outdoors and in nature for all people.
Right.
All right. And especially for youth, because we're really concerned we should be concerned about our youth. What's the quote? Children are 1/3 of the population and 100% of our future, something like that. Yeah. So what we're seeing in this evaluation process is that students, teachers, parents are reporting that they are increasing a sense of wellness, a sense of belonging, a sense of connection, confidence, the ability to be a scientist, the identity as a scientist, like all of those things are being reported by all of these folks that this is increasing because of outdoor school.
Right. And these are the foundation of both academic success and overall well-being in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Identity is, we know that identity is key to success in school. Right. If you see yourself as a poor school performer, that's probably what's going to happen for you.
So the data is strong. It strongly supports that outdoor schools are having this incredible impact. Why aren't we all doing it?
Yeah, well, so there are a lot of priorities that schools have to face, and when we talk about priorities, you really need a couple priorities to focus on those. You look at the priorities that a principal or a school leader or a superintendent has, they have to address so many challenges. Right. There's just a lot of things on their plate. Right. It's really important to us to be able to speak with these school leaders so that they can see how their students attending outdoor school, participating in this experience, is achieving their priorities. Right. It's not an additional burden, but it is work. To expect to take kids out of the building on a bus to a place, spend time there overnight with their teachers, with other folks, that's an investment. It's a lift. It's a lift, right? And so if we can start to eliminate some barriers, one of those barriers being it's costing you a bunch of money. Right. So if we can actually identify a way to take care of that, and then we can really communicate with and support our school partners so that they know that their goals are being met for their kids by participating in outdoor school, then we're true partners. Right. And I believe outdoor schools across this country are true partners in that way, and so it's a really natural fit. Yeah. So that's it. And when we think about in Oregon, we're spending about $30 million a year to send 40,000 kids to outdoor school. All right, $30 million is a lot of money. Sure. For me. Sure. State of Oregon has about a $20 billion budget. So 30 million, it's a pretty small investment, really, for such a huge impact. For such a huge impact, backed up by data. Yep, absolutely. It's huge. That's a wrap for this episode of the North Bay Podcast. But remember, the conversation doesn't have to stop here. Outdoor learning is a movement, and we all have a role to play in making sure every student, no matter where they are, has access to the life-changing benefits of learning in nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, be sure to subscribe, like, and share the podcast with others who believe in the power of learning beyond the classroom. And remember, outdoor school shouldn't be a privilege for the few, but rather a right for every student. See you next time.